Hi everyone, my name is Taylor. I am a wife and a mom to a 2-year-old and currently pregnant with my second. I'm 30 weeks pregnant right now. Before I give birth to this baby, I thought I should document my first birth story, even though it was over 2 years ago now. I don't have it written down anywhere, it's just in my brain. So I wanted to document my first birth story and I hope you enjoy it. October 8th, I had a very crampy feeling, just feeling very crampy, ache in my back. It was very mild. And I texted my doula. She said it sounded like early labor, but just to rest. So I went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, October 9th, and basically it was just gone. It had just stopped. So I just kind of carried on with my day, and around noon is when I started to have kind of that feeling come back. It got more intense to the point where I started being like, I think these are contractions, but they were very mild, very easy to deal with, just carried on throughout my day. So that started around noon. Around 1 o'clock, I had watched all the videos, I had read books, and basically the advice is to ignore labor as long as possible. So I was like, okay, great. I decided to go to Target, and I had this idea that I needed to make soup for some reason. So I go to Target, I'm there, I'm getting stuff for soup. Let's say it's like 1:30. And I was having contractions in Target. And I would say this is the moment that I thought to myself, like, yeah, I think this is the start of labor for sure. Because it seemed like they were starting to get a little more intense. They were starting to get more rhythmic. They were only coming every, I don't even know. I'm sorry, it was 2 years ago. They were not close together. They were not intense, but it was like maybe every 10-15 minutes I'd have like a mild contraction. So anyway, get done at Target, I go to drive home and my car battery is dead. So I'm sitting in the Target parking lot, and luckily my husband was off work this day, and I called him and I said, you need to come jumpstart the car because our car battery is dead and I cannot get home. So he comes, he jumpstarts the car. We're like kind of talking about like, okay, we should take the car in. He says, I can make an appointment for tomorrow with this one place. And I was like, no, like, I don't think we're gonna be available tomorrow. Like, we need to just take the car in probably right now. So he ended up driving it directly to like a car repair shop, whatever you call it, and got the car battery fixed. I go home. It's probably like, I don't know, 4 o'clock-ish, October 9th. I start making soup because I'm like, I need to have a nutritious meal before I go into labor, before I go to the hospital. I need to just get that done. So I'm making soup, having contractions. I would still say it's pretty mild at this point, but definitely starting to pick up in intensity. So I have dinner, we eat our soup, it's great. I'm pretty sure I'm in early labor. Around 6:30 or 7 is when I'm like, okay, I should just lay down on the couch. I texted my doula, she knew all this was going on, and she told me to just relax for a while. So I did that. Around 8 p.m., it was starting to become very uncomfortable for me to lay down and like just relax. But my last note in my phone is at 9:15 is when I lost my mucus plug and had bloody show. And that's when I like kind of had a moment of panic of like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. And I texted my doula and I said, please come, because my husband and I were convinced I was gonna have the baby any moment. So little did I know, I had so much longer to go before I actually had the baby. And that was the last note in my phone, because after that, my contractions really picked up. They were, at this point, around 5 to 7 minutes apart and about 45 seconds long. My doula got to my house around 10 or 10:30. I was just laboring at home for a while. My baby she was head down, but she was like kind of tilted. Her head was in a weird position. She wasn't quite sunny side up. She was like, I don't know, she was rotated weird. So I was having back labor the whole time, and it was just very intense from the start. I labored at home for a long time, like 5 hours with my husband and my doula. Honestly, I thought I was killing it. I was like, oh, I've been in labor since like noon or 1 o'clock. It's like 12 hours later and my contractions are intense. They're kind of close together. They're pretty close together. Like I said, I don't remember the actual timing, but I really was like, this baby's coming soon and I'm totally gonna do this naturally. Yeah, that did not happen. So it's October 10th, very early morning, and it's 3 a.m. and I started to feel a little bit nauseous, and my contractions, like I said, were just very intense and getting closer together. So we decided to go to the hospital. It was about a 30-minute drive. We get in the car, put everything in the car, drive to the hospital. When we get to the hospital, it's about 3:30 in the morning. Like I said, it was October 10th. So my husband and I were walking into the hospital saying like, oh my gosh, 10-10, what a cool birthday. And we even like started singing like 10-10, 10-10. And spoiler, she did not come on 10-10. She did not come on 10-10. Yeah. Little did I know, we were still only just starting, which I thought I was well into labor at this point. So anyway, get to the hospital, go in the emergency room door, fill out the paperwork, made my way up to the birthing center. They don't even put me in triage because basically no one was there. Like they didn't have any laboring mothers for some reason. It was just a very slow night. So they just took me right into a room, started to get me kind of set up. Yeah, the walk up to the birthing center though was like, it felt like the longest walk of my life because I had to stop like every few feet and like had to take a moment because my contractions were so intense. And they did offer me a wheelchair, but I was like, I could not sit. I could not sit in this wheelchair. We're up in our room, getting all settled, and they decide to check me to see how far along I am. And like I said, my contractions were intense. They were very close together. I had been laboring since noon, and it was almost 4 a.m. at this point. I was feeling nauseous on the way over in the car. I thought I was in transition, like very, very close to being done. I was like, thank goodness, because this is like getting real painful. And my goal was a natural birth, but I was like, I'm glad this is almost over. So they decided to check me, and I was only 3 centimeters dilated. When I tell you, my confidence and mindset just left. It was like, I could not even believe I was only 3 centimeters. And they were like, if you want to stay at the hospital, you can, because there's no one else here. You can go home if you want, like, we'll let you stay. And I was like, I could not believe my ears. I could not believe that was even an option. What I was feeling, how intense it was, the back labor, how long I had been in labor. I just couldn't even believe going home was an option. I was like, I am not going home. There is no way I'm going home. So I decided to stay. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna labor a little bit longer, Gonna keep going because I'm handling the contractions. Although I will say, finding out I was 3 centimeters really messed with my head. So like the contractions after this very much became so much more painful, so much more intense. And I think a big reason for that was because my mindset was terrible. I was just like, could not get over that I was only 3 centimeters, like couldn't move past it, but I was trying. Anyway, so I labor in my hospital room for a few more hours. They fill up a tub for me to get in to like help with the pain a little bit. I get in the tub. It does not help at all. But I was like, I guess I'll just stay in this water because I think I had it in my head that water helps other people when they're in labor. So I was like, I guess I will also like labor in this water right now in this tub because it's probably helping, right? I don't think it was though. I remember when I was in the tub, my contractions were so intense. I was so like, my body was very tense. I was not coping well at this point. So a few hours go by of laboring. I got out of the tub because they didn't want me to stay in there too long. It's probably like, I'm gonna guess it was 9 or 10 a.m. at this point. They asked me if I want to be checked again, and I said yes. And I was like, surely I've progressed quite a bit since last getting checked 5 or 6 hours ago. Because again, I have been in labor since noon the day before, and it's 9 or 10 a.m. So like almost 24 hours. They check me and they say, yay, you have progressed. You are 5 centimeters. Once again, I just couldn't believe my ears. Could not believe it. I was like, there is just simply no way I am only 5 centimeters and this is not going faster. Like, one thing I did not prepare for, well, I didn't prepare very well for labor, I don't think. After going through it once, I've learned you really gotta prepare mentally. Apparently you gotta prepare in case you're in labor for days. I did not. I was expecting labor to be like 12 hours-ish. No, it was not that way. So at this point I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. So I was like talking to my husband and my doula and the nurses of different things I could do. They suggested, I think it's called nitrous oxide. Basically it's like a laughing gas. So you just like put this thing to your mouth and you can like breathe it in during a contraction. It's supposed to like help, I don't know, it'll help you cope somehow. It did not help for me. And I think that is because, once again, my mental stamina, my mental positivity was just like at a 0, basically. Mentally, I was like, this stinks and I'm only halfway. Like that just, it was not well. So probably around noon on October 10th is when I asked for the epidural. I was like, get me the epidural, because honestly, like part of it too was the only way I was finding relief was from handling the contractions standing up. My body was just so tired because I'd been in labor for 24 hours. I had not slept since I woke up around like 8 on October 9th. It was now noon on October 10th. So I had not slept. My body was very tired. I could like hardly stand. Got the epidural so that I could rest. And I think it took them like maybe an hour to come in to like do the epidural. I don't know. It felt like centuries after I asked for it, but I'm sure it was like 30 minutes or an hour, something like that. So they come in, do the epidural, and I'm like, sweet. Like, I'm just gonna lay here and it's gonna be awesome. So I'm laying there and I'm like waiting for it to kick in. It's not. The nurse is like, it just kind of takes a while to kick in. Like sometimes it takes like an hour or whatever. She's like, sometimes it takes a while. They gave me this little button to push And so I was pushing the button. I was like, I just really don't think this is working. And finally, after like a couple hours laying there, feeling the contractions still, they were like, yeah, it should have kicked in by now. So basically they had to come back in, take the epidural out, and put in a new epidural. Let me just tell you, that was the worst. It was the literal worst. And the worst part of it was when I have never really like had anything like this before having the epidural, but they like tape all this stuff on your back so that obviously it like stays in place, and like whatever comes out of it, the tubes or whatever, like all stay in place. There's tape all over your back. So they had to take off all the tape, and it was so painful. It was like, honestly, that part was worse than doing the epidural again, was the tape coming off my back, because it was just like, oh my gosh. It felt like I was being waxed, basically. Anyway, they put in the new epidural. This time it works, and it is phenomenal. Like, I couldn't believe how good I felt. Whoever did this epidural was like a pro anesthesiologist, because I could still move. I mean, I was laying down still, but like I could move my legs, I could feel my legs, I could feel my feet, but I could not feel the contractions at all. So whoever did this epidural, like, they're the pro. Like, it was so good. So I just laid there for a long time. I finally got to nap and like rest my body. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention was when I first got to the hospital, the night nurses were leaving at 7 a.m. and they were like, we'll see you tonight with your baby. And I was like, great. Anyway, it was just hilarious. They came back and I was like not even close to having my baby. They came back at 7 p.m. and I was there at the epidural, and I was at that point like 7 centimeters. But they were like, oh, like you have not had your baby yet. And I was like, no, I can't believe it either. Luckily, the whole time, the baby's heart rate looked good, like my heart rate, everything was very healthy. So my midwife was very comfortable with me just continuing to labor because nothing looked concerning. So even though it was very long, everything was like still very safe, and we didn't have to worry about like speeding things up or anything. Although once I got the epidural, I was also just like, give me anything, like whatever it takes to make this go a little bit faster and get this moving, like just do it. So I also started to get Pitocin around this time. Around like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. I was at 8 centimeters. I was just kind of like stalled at this point for a long time, and my midwife suggested breaking my water at this point, which I honestly had forgot about. I was like, oh yeah, that has to happen too. Like, can't believe it's just still chilling in there. So around 10 p.m. is when she just went in and broke my water. Honestly, after this, everything was a blur. I think I slept. I don't even know. Like, they kept helping me like switch sides. I tried a few different positions to like help baby move down. I don't even know what happened after this. All I know is that at 3 a.m., it is now October 11th, my daughter's birthday. At 3 a.m., they checked me and I was finally 10 centimeters. We almost made it. It was 3 a.m., I was finally 10 centimeters. They were like, okay, great. Like, we can start doing some practice pushes. I was so happy. I was like, thank goodness. Like, I just want this to be done so bad. I started doing like some practice pushes. I did not want to push on my back, even though I had the epidural. So I was on my side. I kept doing different sides. And because my epidural was amazing and I could still like feel and move my legs a little bit, I was actually able to push on all fours as well, which was crazy. But I think I also mostly felt the pushing like pretty normally, because like I said, I had a little button to push, and when I started pushing, I did not think to like keep pushing my button. So I think eventually I was just kind of like feeling it like normal. I don't know, I was so delusional, like exhausted and couldn't think straight. And I remember while I was pushing, I'd been pushing for a while. I just remember my midwife like kind of coming in and out of the room, like checking how things were going. And I just remember thinking like, where is she going? Like, I'm gonna have this baby any moment. Like, why does she keep leaving the room? As it turns out, I was not even close. Like, I could have sworn I was about to push this baby out of my body, but I was very wrong. I ended up pushing for 3 hours. And at 6:05 a.m., finally delivered my daughter, and she was born. It was just like a whirlwind after that. I was seriously, like, could not think straight. I was so exhausted. Like, I was not there. I don't think I was fully there. I was so tired, but I was so happy. Obviously, she was finally here. I did have some tearing, so they had to stitch me up, and my daughter was very healthy and everything was good. Delivered the placenta, all that after labor stuff. I was just so relieved that my labor was finally done. Definitely not what I expected, not how before labor, obviously I knew like, oh, I've never done this before. Like I had birth preferences and things. And I know that you can't like fully plan what your labor is going to be like, but I definitely did not expect it to be like that. So basically my labor was about 40 hours, which I was very much not expecting. I was not prepared for that. I hope it's not that way again this time, because like I said, I'm currently pregnant with my second, so I'm really hoping to, at least cut it to 1 business day. But yeah, overall, even though it didn't go how I planned, I would still say it was like fairly positive. Sometimes when I tell people that my labor was 40 hours and like tell them my birth story, they're kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like, I appreciate that, but like at the end of the day, we were healthy the whole time. It was, never like an urgent situation. Like I felt very cared for, and like my nurses were obviously amazing. So like I said, hoping that it's not that long again this time. If I had to say a few things I would do differently next time, as in about 10 weeks from now. So this time I'm preparing much more mentally with like affirmations, and I'm taking a birth course. I took a birth course last time through my hospital, but this time I'm taking one that's like mental, and so I am taking that. And then I'm also listening to the Christian hypnobirthing app, and I'm gonna listen to that. I haven't started yet, but planning to listen to that every day, basically starting this week, because I'm 30 weeks this week, because I'm determined to prepare mentally much better this time. I think it also just helps that I've done this before now. Last time it was just very unknown. Even if you read the books and watch birth videos and whatever, it's still different for everyone, and you just don't even know what it's gonna be like until you're doing it. I think that's also just helpful this time. I'm also this time really focusing on my baby's position. So like I said at the beginning, my baby was just in a really weird position. She was head down, but her head was like sideways and her body was tilted weird. And I think that made my labor way longer, more intense. And like my body was just working really hard to try and get her into the optimal position. So this 3rd trimester, I am very much focusing on getting baby into the perfect position, so that hopefully it goes a little bit faster and is a little bit more smooth this time. And then the last thing I'm going to do differently this time is I think I started pushing a little too early, which is kind of hard to believe because, it had been 37 hours or so. Like, kind of crazy to think that maybe I got a little jump start on pushing, but I think even though I was 10 centimeters, my body wasn't quite ready to push. So this time, even if I'm 10 centimeters, if my body isn't like pushing, because people say that like they feel their bodies start to push on its own. And I had the epidural last time too, so who knows? But I think this time I really want to make sure that I wait to push until my body is like, yeah, we're pushing. I think that would really lower my pushing time as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my long labor story. I'm hopeful that this labor will be a little bit quicker. Honestly, even if it goes the same way again, my daughter was healthy, I was healthy, there weren't any major complications. It was just long. So even if it goes the same way again, that's okay. But you could say a little prayer for me if you want. I'd love to cut it in half, at least. We'll see. Maybe I'm just a long labor girl. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed my birth story in this video. I love hearing people's birth stories, so you can comment yours below or link to your favorite birth story if you've watched someone else's recently. Only positive, please. I do not watch bad, traumatic, scary birth stories. So only positive stories, please, but I would love to hear yours. And yeah, thanks for watching.